He almost kept driving. The rain had turned the road into a gray blur, and he was already late picking up his son from practice. The headlights caught something small near the shoulder, too small to be a dog. He slowed without meaning to. A little girl stood barefoot in the gravel. No coat, no umbrella, just a thin yellow dress, soaked through, clinging to her legs. She wasn't crying. That was the part that stayed with him. She just stood there, like she had been placed. When he stepped out and asked where her parents were, she looked past him. "Mommy said to wait," she said, but no one was coming. He told himself he would only stop for a minute, just to make sure she wasn't hurt. The rain had eased into a thin mist, but the cold was worse now. It settled into his sleeves as he stepped toward her. Up close, she looked younger than he first thought. 6, maybe 7, hair plastered to her cheeks, knees scraped, not fresh, dried blood under the rainwater. "Where do you live?" he asked. She blinked slowly, like the question took effort. "Mommy said to wait." "For how long?" A small shrug. Cars passed behind him, tires hissing against wet pavement. No one slowed. He glanced down the stretch of road. Nothing but trees and a long bend disappearing into gray. He crouched, so they were eye level. She didn't step back. Didn't step forward either. Just watched him. Her eyes were steady in a way that didn't fit her size. "Did someone drop you off?" "No." The answer came too quick. He felt something tighten in his chest. He thought of his son Aaron, waiting at the gym. The clock on the dashboard would already be pushing 7. Practice ended at 6:30. Aaron hated being the last one picked up. He stood and scanned the tree line. "Is your mom nearby?" She said to wait. The same words. Same tone. Not scared, not confused. Waiting. He pulled off his jacket and knelt again, draping it over her shoulders. The fabric swallowed her. She didn't resist, just held the edges closed like she'd been taught to. "You're freezing," he said. She didn't answer. He checked his phone. 1 bar of service. He tried calling Aaron's coach first. No connection. Then 911. The line rang. Cut. He swore under his breath. The road curved downhill a quarter-mile back. He knew from experience reception dropped there. He could leave her, drive up the hill until he got signal. Call it in properly. That would be the responsible thing. But leaving meant walking away from her. He imagined returning to find nothing but empty gravel and rain marks. "Okay," he muttered, more to himself than her. "You're not staying out here." When he reached out, she hesitated. Just a flicker. Then she stepped toward him and lifted her arms like she expected to be carried. He wasn't ready for that. He picked her up anyway. She was lighter than she looked. Too light. In the truck, he cranked the heat all the way up. She sat stiff in the passenger seat, feet tucked beneath her, jacket pulled around her. She didn't touch the dashboard. Didn't press buttons. Didn't ask questions. "Do you know your address?" He tried again. Silence. "Your last name?" Nothing. But she was listening. He could see it in the way her eyes shifted slightly each time he spoke. He drove uphill first. Signal returned. 2 bars. He dialed 911 again. This time it connected. He explained quickly. Location. Description. The operator asked him to stay where he was. "I can't," he said. "My son's waiting alone." A pause on the other end. "Sir, officers are en route. It's important you remain." "I'll bring her to the station," he cut in. "It's 10 minutes from here." Another pause, then agreement. He hung up and glanced at her. "What's your name?" She looked at her hands. After a moment, very quiet, "Lila." It felt like a gift. "Okay, Lila," he said softly. "We're going somewhere warm." She nodded once. When they pulled into the gym parking lot, most of the cars were gone. Only a few parents lingering. Aaron stood under the awning, backpack slung over one shoulder, face tight. His son climbed into the back seat without speaking at first. Then he saw her. "Who's that?" "Her name's Lila," he said. "We're taking her to the police station." Aaron leaned forward between the seats. "Why?" She was alone. Aaron studied her. Kids are quick at reading other kids. He sat back slowly. She doesn't look lost, he said. That stayed with him. The station lights were too bright. Leela squinted when they stepped inside. He kept his hand lightly on her shoulder, not holding. Just there. An officer came out from behind the desk, mid-40s, tired eyes. You the one who called? Yes. They took statements in pieces. Location. Time. What she said. When they asked Lila questions, she answered politely. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. But always the same core. Mommy said to wait. Wait where? The officer pressed gently. She looked at the floor. I don't know. They checked missing child reports. Nothing. The officer frowned at the screen. That's strange. He felt a slow unease spread under his ribs. Aaron sat quietly in the corner chair, watching everything. Does she have any ID? Bracelet? School tag? The officer asked. He shook his head. They brought Lila a juice box. She thanked them, used both hands to hold it. Small, careful sips. Sir, the officer said finally, lowering his voice, we're not getting any active reports. That doesn't mean there won't be. It's possible whoever left her hasn't called yet. Left her? The word landed heavy. What happens now? He asked. We can keep her here while we continue trying to locate a guardian. He looked at the hard plastic chairs, the buzzing lights, the open hallway beyond the desk. Lila sat very straight, jacket still wrapped tight. She didn't look at him, and that unsettled him more than if she had reached for his hand. Aaron stood and walked over. Dad, he said quietly. It's late. He checked the clock. 8:12 p.m. School tomorrow. Homework. Dinner. Normal life, waiting outside this room. He rubbed his face. Can I? He hesitated. Can I take her home for the night, just until someone shows up? The officer's brows lifted. That's not standard procedure. I know, but she shouldn't stay here. The officer studied him for a long moment, then glanced at Lila. Then back at him. Let me make a call. He waited, heart beating heavier than it should, for something so simple. He didn't know why he felt responsible already. He just did. The officer came back 10 minutes later with a form and a look that said this wasn't typical. We'll log it as temporary custodial placement, he said. You bring her back here first thing in the morning. If we get a hit overnight, we call you. He signed where they pointed. His handwriting looked uneven. Outside, the air had turned colder. Leela walked beside him without being told to. She didn't reach for his hand this time. She just stayed close enough that their sleeves brushed. Aaron opened the back door for her. That surprised him. His son wasn't always gentle about things. Seatbelt, Aaron said, already buckling his own. She nodded and copied him carefully. The drive home was quiet. The heater hummed, tires against damp asphalt, streetlights flashing over their faces in intervals light, shadow light again. He caught Lila watching the rearview mirror more than once. Are you hungry? He asked. A small pause. Then, a little. They stopped at the only diner still open on their route. Not to eat inside, just takeout. He didn't want questions. Inside, while waiting for the food, he checked his phone again. No missed calls. He didn't know whether that was good or not. At home, he hesitated before unlocking the door. He lived in a small rental house, nothing impressive. Paint peeling near the porch light. The lock stuck in winter. He jiggled it twice before it gave. Shoes off, Aaron said automatically when they stepped inside. Lila slipped hers off without being asked. Placed them neatly beside the door. Toes red from cold. He noticed the scrape on her knee again under the hallway light. Older than today. Fading yellow around the edges. He set the takeout bags on the kitchen counter. You can sit, he told her. She didn't. She stood near the doorway, scanning the room the way someone checks exits. Not obvious, just small shifts of her eyes. Aaron pulled out a chair and dropped into it. Do you want the nuggets? He asked her, pushing the container forward. She looked at her father first before answering. He nodded once. Yes, please. 2 words. Careful. They ate mostly in silence. Aaron kept sneaking looks at her when he thought no one noticed. Lila ate slowly. Small bites. No crumbs on the table. She folded the napkin neatly when she was done. He leaned back in his chair. "So," he said gently, "what were you doing before you were on the road?" She looked down at her hands in her lap. "I was in the car." "With your mom?" "Yes." "Did the car stop?" A longer pause. "Yes." "Why?" Her fingers tightened slightly. She said to wait. Same words. Same flat tone. He tried a different angle. "What kind of car?" Silence. Aaron cleared his throat. "Was it big, like an SUV?" She looked at him briefly. "Black." That was something. "Did you see any houses nearby?" he asked. "No." "Trees?" "Yes." Her answers were getting smaller. He stopped. Pushing wouldn't help. "Okay," he said. "You're safe here tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure it out." Safe. The word felt heavy in his mouth. He stood and walked down the hallway to the linen closet, pulled out spare sheets. The house only had 2 bedrooms, his and Aaron's. He glanced toward Aaron's room. Aaron met his eyes. "It's fine," his son said before he could ask. "She can have my bed." "You don't have to. It's fine." There was no drama in it. Just decision. He nodded. Lila followed Aaron down the hall quietly. He stayed in the kitchen a moment longer, staring at nothing in particular. This wasn't supposed to be his problem. He had spent years narrowing his world down to manageable pieces. Work, home, Aaron, that was enough. That was safe. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. He walked down the hall and stopped at the doorway. Aaron stood outside his own room while Lila changed inside. She asked if she could wash her hands again. Aaron whispered, "Okay." She washed them 3 times. He swallowed. When she came out, she was wearing one of Aaron's old t-shirts. It hung past her knees. "Thank you," she said softly. He showed her where the light switch was, where the bathroom was if she needed it during the night. She climbed into the bed carefully, like she didn't want to wrinkle anything. He stood in the doorway longer than necessary. "Good night, Lila." "Good night." Aaron grabbed a pillow and blanket and headed for the couch without complaining. Later, after the house went quiet, he sat alone at the kitchen table. The clock ticked too loudly. He replayed the scene on the road in his mind. The exact position of her feet. The way she hadn't cried. Most kids would cry. He reached for his phone again, scrolled local news sites. Nothing yet. He set it face down. Around midnight, a soft sound came from down the hall. Not a scream, just movement. He stood immediately. Aaron was asleep on the couch, one arm hanging off the edge. He moved slowly toward the bedroom. The door was open, a crack. Inside, Lila wasn't in the bed. For half a second his heart slammed hard enough to make him dizzy. Then he saw her. She was standing by the window, not looking out, looking at the reflection in the glass. The dark yard behind it. He stepped inside quietly. "Can't sleep?" he asked. She didn't jump. "No." He crouched beside her. "You don't have to stand guard." Her head tilted slightly at that word. "Mommy says bad things happen when you stop paying attention." He felt something shift inside his chest. "You don't have to pay attention tonight," he said carefully. "I will." She studied his face like she was measuring something. After a long moment, she nodded once. He walked her back to bed. This time, when he turned to leave, her hand reached out and caught the edge of his sleeve. Just lightly. He looked down. She didn't say anything. Neither did he. He stayed there until her breathing evened out. When he finally stepped back into the hallway, the house didn't feel the same. It felt like something had followed her in. He woke before the alarm. For a second, everything felt normal. The gray light to the kitchen window. The hum of the fridge. Aaron curled on the couch. Then he remembered. He stood too quickly and walked down the hall. Lila's door was still open a few inches. The bed was made. Perfectly made. His stomach dropped. He stepped inside. The pillow was centered. Blanket tucked tight under the mattress. No wrinkles. She wasn't in the room. He moved faster now. Bathroom empty. Aaron stirred on the couch as he passed. Dad? Stay there. The back door. Locked. He checked the handle twice anyway. Then he heard water running. Kitchen. He turned the corner and stopped. Leela stood on a chair at the sink, sleeves pushed up, carefully rinsing the cereal bowl. The faucet wasn't turned too high. She had adjusted it just enough. He watched her for a few seconds before speaking. You don't have to do that. She shut off the water immediately. I made a mess. He looked at the counter. There was no mess. The milk carton stood capped and returned to the fridge. Spoon beside the bowl. No drips. Your guest, he said. She frowned slightly as if she didn't understand the word. Aaron shuffled into the kitchen, hair sticking up. She's been up for a while, he muttered. She asked where the cleaning stuff was. He looked at her. Why? She hesitated. Mommy doesn't like when things are out of place. There it was again. That careful tone. Not scared, just precise. He pulled out a chair and sat. We're going to the station after breakfast, he said. They might have found your mom. Her face didn't change. Okay. No relief, no excitement. He tried to tell himself that children process things differently, that maybe she was still in shock. But something about her calm felt practiced. They ate quietly. Aaron kept glancing between them. You can have my hoodie, Aaron said suddenly. It's warmer than that shirt. Leela looked at him. Thank you. She didn't smile. But her shoulders loosened a fraction when she slipped it on. At the station, the morning felt heavier than the night before. Different officers on duty. New faces. The same fluorescent lights. The officer from last night wasn't there. A younger woman behind the desk took their information and disappeared into the back. They waited. Leela sat beside him, hands folded in her lap. Aaron swung his foot under the chair, impatient. After 20 minutes, a man in a suit came out. Not a police uniform. Dark blue suit. Clean lines. No badge visible. He walked directly toward them. Mr. Harris? He asked. He stood slowly. Yes. The man's handshake was firm but quick. My name is Daniel Crow. I represent the Bennett family. The name meant nothing to him. Crow's eyes flicked to Lila. She looked down immediately. We've been searching all night, Crow continued. You have no idea how grateful we are. Grateful. The word felt wrong in the room. Is she? He swallowed. Is her mother coming? Yes. When? Soon. Crow's smile didn't reach his eyes. He glanced at Aaron. And this must be your son. Aaron nodded stiffly. Crow crouched slightly to Lila's level. Lila, sweetheart, we've been very worried. She didn't look up. Your mother is on her way. A small pause. Then, softly, okay. No movement toward him. No rush of relief. Crow stood again. If you'll come with me, we've arranged a more private room. Arranged. He felt Aaron shift closer to him. They followed Crow down a hallway he hadn't noticed the night before, past offices, past closed doors. The private room looked less like part of the station and more like a temporary conference space. A long table, bottled water, tissues. He didn't like it. How did you find out she was here? He asked. Crow adjusted his cufflinks. We monitor certain channels. That's not an answer. Crow held his gaze for a second longer than comfortable. Her mother has resources. Resources. The word sat heavy. He looked at Leela. She was staring at the door, not at Crow. Waiting. He felt a slow tightening in his chest. What happened? He asked carefully. Why was she alone on the road? Crow's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. There was a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding doesn't leave a 6-year-old in the rain. Crow didn't respond to that. Instead, he glanced at his watch. She'll explain. The air in the room changed before the door even opened. He couldn't explain it. It was like pressure building. Aaron felt it too. He stopped swinging his foot. The door opened quietly. A woman stepped inside. Not rushed, not frantic, composed. Her coat alone probably cost more than his truck, but that wasn't what caught him. It was her face. She wasn't crying. She wasn't relieved. She looked controlled. Her eyes landed on Lila. Something flickered there. Quick. Then gone. "Lila," she said. Lila stood. For a second he thought she might run to her. She didn't. She walked. Small steps. The woman knelt and wrapped her arms around her daughter. It looked correct. The angle. The pressure. The timing. But he noticed Lila's hands. They stayed at her sides, not returning the hug. The woman closed her eyes briefly, then stood. She turned to him. "You're the one who found her." Her voice was low, steady. "Yes." A pause. "Thank you." He nodded. "You left her on the road," he said, before he could stop himself. Crow shifted behind him. The woman didn't flinch. "No," she said calmly, "I did not." Lila's fingers twitched slightly. He saw it. The woman's gaze sharpened just a fraction. "There are things you don't understand," she said. He believed that. That was what bothered him. Aaron moved closer to his side. The woman looked at his son. "You have a good father," she said softly. Aaron didn't answer. The room felt smaller. He became aware of how out of place he looked. Work boots, faded jacket, calloused hands. The woman stepped closer. "May I speak with you privately?" she asked. He hesitated, then nodded. Aaron stayed seated beside Lila. As he followed the woman into the hallway, he had the distinct feeling that something was about to tilt. The hallway outside the conference room felt colder. Not physically, just thinner. Like the air had been filtered. The woman closed the door behind them, but not all the way. It stayed open a few inches. Intentional. Up close, she looked younger than he expected. Early 30s. No visible panic in her face. No smudged mascara. Just restraint. "I owe you an explanation," she said. Her voice was steady, but there was something under it. Not fear. Calculation, maybe. He waited. "My name is Evelyn Bennett." The name still meant nothing to him. "She's my daughter." He nodded once. "I figured that." A faint, almost humorless curve of her mouth. "You found her near Ridgeway Road." "Yes." She wasn't supposed to be there. The sentence hung between them. "Then how did she get there?" he asked. A pause. Not long, just enough to feel chosen. "There was a threat," she said. He didn't blink. "What kind of threat?" "To her." He folded his arms slowly. "And leaving her alone in the rain was safer?" Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I didn't leave her." He held her gaze. "Then someone did." Silence. In the room behind them, he could hear Aaron's low voice. Lila not answering. Evelyn inhaled carefully. "My driver was instructed to take a specific route. We received information that someone had tampered with the vehicle. He pulled over to assess it." Lila panicked. She unbuckled herself and ran into the trees. That didn't match the girl he'd seen standing perfectly still in gravel. "She told me her mother said to wait." Evelyn's eyes flickered at that. She was told to stay inside the vehicle. "That's not what she said." A longer silence. Evelyn looked past him down the hallway, then back. "There are people who would benefit from destabilizing my family," she said quietly. "Do you understand what I'm saying?" He did. But he didn't like how easily she said it. "Is that why there was no missing report?" he asked. She didn't answer immediately. "We handle certain matters privately," she said. "That's not how it works. For you, perhaps." The words were calm, not cruel, just factual. It stung anyway. He let the quiet stretch. "You monitor police channels," he said finally. "That's how your lawyer knew she was here." "Yes." "That's not normal." "No," she agreed. "It isn't." He studied her face for cracks. There weren't many. But something was off. Not in what she said, in what she didn't. "If someone was threatening her," he said slowly, "why wasn't she scared?" That was the first time her composure slipped. Just a fraction. Leela has been raised to remain calm, she replied. In the rain. Alone. Another pause. She trusts instructions. He thought about her standing at the window, standing guard, about her washing the bowl before he woke up. That wasn't calm, that was conditioning. You train her? He asked quietly. Evelyn's gaze sharpened. I protect her. That's not the same thing. For the first time, a hint of something like anger moved across her face. You have no idea what kind of world she was born into, she said. Then tell me. The hallway seemed to shrink. She studied him in a way that felt less like conversation and more like assessment. You're a single father, she said. Yes. Her records were easy enough to confirm. He didn't like that. You live quietly. No debt issues. No legal complications. Stable employment. You ran a background check on me overnight. I had to. For what? To decide whether she was safe with you. The words landed hard. Safe with you. He almost laughed, but it didn't come out. She was alone in a storm, he said. I put a jacket on her. That's all. And you took her home instead of leaving her in a fluorescent waiting room, Evelyn replied. He didn't know what to do with that. Behind the door, he heard a soft sound. Not loud, just a chair shifting. He glanced back instinctively. Evelyn noticed. She didn't sleep, did she? She asked quietly. He hesitated. She stood at the window. Evelyn closed her eyes briefly, then opened them. She's not meant for ordinary situations, she said. She's 6. Yes, that's the point. Something moved in his chest. Slow. Heavy. You're not telling me everything. No, she said. I'm not. At least that was honest. A shadow crossed the far end of the hallway. 2 more men in suits. Not police. Watching. He felt it then. This wasn't about a lost child. It was about control. Are we in danger? He asked plainly. Evelyn didn't answer right away. Her silence said enough. Because my son didn't sign up for this, he continued, voice lower now. He won't be harmed, she said immediately. That's not what I asked. Another pause. There was an internal dispute within my company, she said carefully. Someone attempted leverage. By taking her. Yes. And you think it's over? We are managing it. Managing. He thought about Lila's hands at her sides when she hugged her mother. Did she run from the car? He asked again. Evelyn looked at him for a long moment. Then, very quietly, no. The admission hung there. She was told to step out. His stomach tightened. By you. A beat. Yes. The word barely above a whisper. The hallway felt suddenly colder for real. Why? Because the threat was credible. Because the vehicle was compromised. Because if they were tracking it, I needed the car to move without her. His mind caught up slowly. You used her as a decoy. No. But the denial wasn't strong. You left her visible. She was never meant to be alone. But she was. Evelyn's shoulders straightened. You found her before anyone else did. That matters. It didn't feel like comfort. It felt like luck. Behind the door, Leela's voice rose slightly. Not crying, just firm. I waited, she was saying. He felt the words like a weight. Evelyn turned toward the sound. I need to take her home, she said. Home. He imagined gates, cameras, security teams, and windows she would stand beside. You're going to keep doing this, he said quietly. Evelyn met his eyes. I will do whatever keeps her alive. There was no apology in it, just certainty. And that certainty scared him more than any threat she described, because it meant this wasn't the last time Lila would be asked to stand still in the rain. He didn't go back into the room right away. He stayed in the hallway, listening through the crack in the door. Not because he wanted to spy, because his body wouldn't let him move. He heard Evelyn's voice, softening as she spoke to Leela. Heard Crow murmuring something he couldn't make out. Heard Aaron say one short sentence. Can she stay here? Then silence. He pushed the door open. Everyone looked up at him at once. Leela was sitting again. Aaron beside her, shoulders squared like he'd decided something without permission. Evelyn stood near the table, one hand resting on the back of a chair, posture perfect. Crow leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Lila's eyes found him immediately. She didn't smile. She didn't reach for him. But her gaze held on him like he was the only solid object in the room. Evelyn cleared her throat. We're leaving, she said. He didn't answer right away. Aaron did. She doesn't want to go. Evelyn's expression didn't change. Of course she does. Aaron shook his head once. No, she doesn't. Crow's eyes narrowed slightly. A warning, quiet but present. Evelyn looked down at Lila. Sweetheart, we're going home. Lila's hands were folded in her lap, her knuckles pale. I waited, she said. Evelyn blinked once. Yes, she replied. You did exactly what you were supposed to do. Lila's mouth tightened. That wasn't what you said. The words were small, but they landed like a crack in glass. The room went still. He felt his pulse thicken in his ears. Evelyn's voice stayed controlled. Lila, don't do this here. Lila's eyes lifted. Calm, steady, too old. You said stay until you come back, she whispered. You didn't come back. For a moment, Evelyn looked like someone had slapped her. Not with force, with truth. Crow stepped forward slightly. Lila, he said gently. Your mother has been. Don't, Lila said. One word. Quiet. But it stopped him. Aaron's eyes widened. He looked at his father like he wasn't sure what he was seeing. Evelyn took a breath, slow and measured. Mr. Harris, she said, turning to him, I appreciate what you did, but this is not your place. She needs to come with me. He stared at her. He could feel the part of himself that liked order, liked clean lines, trying to step back into control, trying to say, yes, of course, take your daughter. This isn't my business. But his throat felt tight. She's scared of you, Aaron said suddenly. Evelyn's gaze snapped to Aaron. She is not. She is, Aaron insisted. His voice shook slightly, but he didn't stop. She was fine at our house. She talked. She ate. She slept well. She didn't sleep, but she wasn't like this. Evelyn's jaw clenched. This conversation is inappropriate. No, he said quietly, surprising himself. His voice was calmer than Aaron's. It's not. Crow's tone sharpened. Mr. Harris, stop, he said. And even Crow paused. He looked at Lila. Do you want to go with her? He asked. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. You can't ask her that. I just did. Lila stared at the floor for a long time. Then she shook her head once. Small. Clear. No. Aaron exhaled sharply like he'd been holding his breath. Evelyn didn't move. Her face stayed composed, but something in her eyes shifted. A coldness. A decision forming. She's a child, Evelyn said. She doesn't understand what she's saying. She understands enough to answer, he replied. Evelyn stepped closer to the table, palms flat against it. You have no idea what's involved, she said, voice low. You are inserting yourself into a situation you don't comprehend. I comprehend a kid who doesn't want to leave, he said. Crow glanced toward the hallway. 2 uniformed officers appeared in the doorway. He hadn't noticed them arrive. Evelyn didn't look at them. She didn't have to. Officer, Crow said smoothly, this man is refusing to release the child to her legal guardian. The officer looked uncertain. Ma'am, is that your daughter? Evelyn nodded. Yes. The officer glanced at Lila. Lila didn't speak. She stared at her hands. The officer cleared his throat. Then, legally, she should go with you. Aaron stood up fast. No. The officer stiffened. Son, sit down. Aaron didn't. He stepped in front of Lila without thinking. His arms out slightly like a shield. He was only 12. But in that moment, he looked older. He felt something sharp in his chest. Pride, fear, anger, all tangled. "Aaron," he said quietly. His son didn't look at him. "She's not safe," Aaron said. Evelyn's eyes narrowed further. "That's enough." She reached for Lila. Lila flinched. Not dramatic, just a small recoil. Like her skin had learned something. He saw it. The officers saw it too. He could tell by the way one of them shifted his stance. He stepped forward instinctively. Evelyn stopped. For a second, nobody moved. And in that stillness, he understood something. This wasn't about custody. It wasn't about a lost kid. It was about whether Evelyn Bennett could still control the room. The officer cleared his throat again, uncertain. "Ma'am, maybe we should contact Child Services to evaluate." Crow's head snapped toward him. "We will not be involving Child Services." The officer held his ground, but his voice weakened. "That's procedure." Evelyn's eyes remained on Lila. "Lila," she said softly, dangerously soft, "come here." Lila didn't move. Evelyn's voice stayed calm, but her fingers tightened on the table edge. "I'm not asking twice." He felt Aaron's breath hitch. Then Lila stood. Not because she wanted to, because she had been trained. She walked toward Evelyn with small, stiff steps, face blank. Evelyn placed a hand on her shoulder. Possessive. Light. Lila didn't look up. And he felt something in him turn over, like a stone shifting in deep water. Evelyn looked at him. "This is over," she said. But he could already tell it wasn't. They left the station with too much quiet around them. No shouting, no handcuffs, no dramatic scene. Just Evelyn walking ahead with Lila beside her. Crow a half step behind, the two men in suits falling into place like shadows. He and Aaron followed because they didn't know what else to do. Outside, a black SUV waited at the curb. Engine running. Windows tinted dark enough to hide whoever was inside. Aaron grabbed his sleeve. "Dad," he whispered, "we can't let her go." He didn't answer right away, because he didn't know if that was true. He watched Evelyn open the back door for Lila. Lila climbed in without a word. No hesitation now. Like her body had switched into a different mode. Obedience. Evelyn turned toward him before getting in herself. Her expression was calm again, almost polite. "You've done enough," she said. "Go home. Take care of your son." He stared at her. "You told her to get out of the car," he said quietly. Her eyes didn't change. "That conversation is finished." "It's not finished for her," he replied. Evelyn's gaze sharpened, and for the first time he saw something behind her composure. Not just control, something like exhaustion. "You want to know the truth?" she asked, voice low. He didn't move. Evelyn stepped closer, stopping just outside arm's reach. "My daughter is alive because I'm willing to do things that make me look like a monster," she said. Aaron stiffened beside him. Evelyn's eyes flicked to Aaron, then back. "And you," she continued, "are a stranger who happened to find her before someone else did. That is all." She started to turn away. He spoke before he could stop himself. "She said bad things happen when you stop paying attention." Evelyn froze, just for a second. Then she looked at him again. "Did she say that?" she asked. "Yes." A small silence stretched. The rain had stopped, but the sky still looked bruised. Cars passed on the street. Normal people heading to normal lives. Evelyn's voice lowered. "She hears things," she said. "She remembers things, even when she shouldn't." That didn't explain anything. It made everything worse. "What does that mean?" he asked. Evelyn didn't answer. Crow cleared his throat softly, a reminder. Evelyn exhaled, slow. "She saw something she wasn't supposed to see," she said finally. "Months ago." His stomach tightened. "What?" Evelyn's eyes stayed locked on his, like she was deciding whether he deserved the truth. "She saw a man die," she said. The words were plain, not dramatic. like she'd said them too many times. Aaron sucked in a breath. He felt his own body go still. Evelyn continued, voice controlled. It happened in our home. A trusted employee, a security breach. It was handled. Quietly, handled, he repeated. Yes, she said. Aaron's grip on his sleeve tightened. You're saying someone was killed in your house, he said, and your daughter saw it. Evelyn's mouth tightened. And now people believe she knows things, she said. People who don't care that she's a child. He stared at her. The words didn't feel like fiction. They felt like something that had been buried too deep and was now surfacing. That's why she's trained, he said quietly. That's why she doesn't cry. That's why she stands by windows. Evelyn's face didn't soften. She's alive, she said. That was her defense, and maybe she believed it. Aaron's voice cracked slightly. Did she watch it happen? Evelyn glanced at him. Yes, she said. Aaron went pale. Evelyn looked away as if she regretted saying it. Mr. Harris, she said again, softer now, I don't want to drag you into this. You have a son, a normal life. Protect that. He felt his jaw tighten. You're asking me to pretend I didn't see her flinch, he said. Evelyn's eyes returned to him. I'm asking you to go home, she replied. Crow stepped closer. Ma'am, we need to leave. Evelyn nodded once. Then she surprised him. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small card. White, thick paper, minimal print. She held it out. A phone number. No name, no company logo, just the number. If anything happens, she said, you call that. Day or night. He took it without thinking. The card felt too heavy for paper. Why give me this? He asked. Evelyn's gaze dropped briefly toward the SUV where Lila sat behind dark glass. Then she looked back. Because you were kind to her, she said quietly, and she noticed. The door closed behind her. The SUV pulled away smoothly like nothing had happened. Aaron watched it disappear down the street, face tight. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Aaron whispered, Dad, what if she doesn't come back? He stared at the empty curb where the SUV had been. The morning light looked wrong. Too bright, too ordinary. I don't know, he admitted. They got into the truck. He drove without speaking, hands locked on the wheel. Halfway home, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered immediately, a man's voice. Calm, professional. Mr. Harris, the voice said. This is Detective Rourke. County Major Crimes. I need you to come back to the station. His grip tightened. Why? A pause. We received an anonymous tip, Rourke said, about the child you brought in last night. He swallowed. What kind of tip? Rourke's voice dropped slightly. That she wasn't lost, he said. She was delivered. Silence filled the truck. Aaron stared at him. He felt the card in his pocket like a burn. Delivered by who? He asked. Rourke exhaled. That's what we're trying to figure out, he said. But there's something else. He waited. Someone accessed the station's security footage this morning, Rourke continued, and it wasn't us. The road ahead blurred slightly. He slowed at a stop sign and realized his hands were shaking. Rourke's voice stayed calm. You need to come in, he repeated, and you need to be careful. The call ended. He didn't move for a moment after. Aaron's voice came small. Dad, are we in trouble? He stared through the windshield at the quiet neighborhood ahead, and he knew with a certainty that made his stomach sink that the answer was already yes. He didn't go straight back to the station. He drove home first. He told himself it was practical. Aaron needed to get his backpack, needed to call the school. He needed to lock the house, maybe grab paperwork, maybe make sure nothing was left open. But the truth was simpler. He needed 4 walls around him before he walked into whatever this had become. The house looked the same from the outside. Small porch, wind chimes barely moving, a neighbor's trash can tipped on its side. Normal. He parked and sat there for a moment, hands still on the wheel, listening to the engine tick down. Aaron spoke first. "Who was that guy?" "Detective." "What does he want?" He didn't answer. Aaron leaned forward, his voice sharper now. "Dad, what is going on?" He stared at the front door. "I don't know yet," he said. That was the part that scared him. Not the billionaire woman, not the men in suits, not even the idea of someone dying in a house like hers. It was the fact that he didn't know what was real and what was being shaped around him. They went inside. Aaron dropped his bag on the couch and immediately grabbed his phone. "I'm calling Coach," Aaron said. "Don't." Aaron froze. "Why?" He walked into the kitchen, opened a drawer, and pulled out the spare house key. Put it in his pocket. Then he checked the window locks, one by one. Aaron watched him. "You're acting weird," Aaron said. He didn't deny it. "Just don't call anyone right now," he said. "Not yet." Aaron's face tightened. "She said someone died," Aaron's mace. He looked at his son. "I know. You believe her?" He hesitated. That hesitation was answer enough. Aaron sat slowly on the edge of the couch. "I don't like this," Aaron said. "I don't either." He went to the hallway closet and pulled out his old duffel bag, the one he used when he traveled for work. He started throwing things into it without really thinking. Flashlight, phone charger, a pocket knife he hadn't used in years. Aaron watched. "Are we leaving?" "Not yet." "Dad." He stopped and looked at him. Aaron's eyes were wide, but he wasn't crying. He was trying hard not to. That made it worse. "You said she was safe here," Aaron said. "You said that." He felt the weight of those words. "I meant it," he replied. Aaron swallowed. What if they come here? He didn't want to say it out loud, but he'd already thought it. The security footage, someone accessing it, the way Crow had walked through the station like he owned it, the way the officers had stepped aside without being told. He looked at the kitchen window again. The street beyond it, empty. "They won't," he said. But it didn't sound convincing even to him. His phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. He answered. Detective Rourke didn't waste time. "You didn't come in," he said. "I'm on my way," he replied. A pause. "You're not still with the kid, are you?" "No." Another pause, longer. "She left with her mother." "You sure it was her mother?" Roar asked. He felt his throat tighten. "Yes." "You saw identification?" "No." "But she said, that doesn't mean anything," Roar cut in. "People say a lot of things." He stared at the wall, pulse rising. "Then why did your officers let her take the child?" he asked. Rourke didn't answer immediately. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. "They didn't have a choice," he said. "Not the way you think." The words left a bad taste. "What does that mean?" he asked. Rourke exhaled. "Just get here," he said. "And don't bring your son into the building. Park across the street. Stay visible." Aaron was watching him, reading his face. He ended the call. "What did he say?" Aaron asked. He didn't respond right away. He walked to the front door and looked out through the peephole. No one. Still, he didn't open it yet. "He said stay visible," he finally answered. Aaron frowned. "That doesn't make sense." "Nothing does." He grabbed his keys. Aaron stood. "I'm coming." "No." Aaron's eyes hardened. "I'm not staying here alone." He almost argued, almost told him to stop acting like an adult. But he couldn't, because he understood. He nodded once. "Fine. But you stay in the truck. You don't get out." Aaron didn't look relieved. He just nodded. They drove back to the station. On the way, he noticed a car behind them that hadn't been there before. A gray sedan. Nothing special. No tinted windows. No obvious tail. But it stayed behind them through 3 turns. Aaron noticed too. "Is that car following us?" He didn't answer. He turned right at the next light instead of going straight. The sedan turned right. His grip tightened. He took another turn. Then another. The sedan stayed with them, always 2 cars back. Aaron's voice dropped. Dad, he forced his breathing steady. Keep your head down, he said. Aaron sank into the seat. He drove toward the busiest part of town. Traffic, people, cameras, noise. The sedan stayed. When he finally pulled into a grocery store parking lot instead of the station, the sedan slowed at the entrance, then kept driving. His heart didn't slow down. Aaron sat up slowly. They left, Aaron whispered. He stared to the windshield, watching the sedan disappear. Then he noticed something else. A black SUV across the lot, parked. Engine off, windows tinted. He didn't see it pull in. His skin went cold. Aaron followed his gaze. "Oh my God," Aaron said quietly. He didn't move. Because he knew if he moved too fast, they'd know he'd seen them. He reached into his pocket and touched the card Evelyn had given him. The number felt like a trap, or a lifeline. He didn't know which. He stared at the SUV until his eyes burned. Then he started the truck and drove toward the station again. This time he didn't look back. He parked across the street, like Rourke said. The station looked the same as it had the night before. Same dull brick. Same flag hanging limp in the cold air. People came and went like it was an ordinary day. He sat in the truck with the engine off. Aaron stayed quiet beside him, shoulders stiff. "Lock the doors," he said. Aaron did. They waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10. He checked his phone. No new calls. His eyes kept drifting to the rearview mirror. A black SUV sat 2 rows behind them now. Different position than the one in the grocery lot, but the same shape, the same tint. He couldn't be sure it was the same vehicle. But his body didn't care about certainty. His body knew. Aaron whispered, "They're still here." He nodded once. Then his phone buzzed. Not a call. A text. In an immer. Number, Wong inside. Alone. His stomach tightened hard. Aaron saw his face. What? He didn't show in the screen. He looked at the station doors. He thought of Rourke telling him to stay visible. He thought of Evelyn saying she didn't want to drag him into this. And he thought of Lila standing at the window, like she'd been told the world was always about to break. He opened the door. Aaron grabbed his sleeve. "Dad, don't." He paused. "Stay here," he said. "If anything happens, if you see anyone come toward you, you start the truck and drive to your aunt's house. Don't stop. Don't call me. Just go." Aaron's face twisted. "No." He held his son's gaze. "Aaron." Aaron's jaw clenched. He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in his father's voice stopped him. He nodded once, barely. His father stepped out. The cold air hit him hard. He crossed the street slowly, forcing himself not to run. Inside the station, the fluorescent lights made his head ache immediately. The woman at the desk glanced up. Before she could speak, a door opened to the left. Detective Rourke stepped out. He looked exactly like his voice sounded tired, sharp-eyed, like he'd been living on coffee and suspicion for too long. "Mr. Harris," he said. Rourke's gaze flicked past him toward the glass doors. "You brought your kid. He's staying outside." Rourke didn't like that, but he didn't comment. "Come on," he said. They walked down the hallway, past the same rooms as before. But this time, Rourke didn't lead him into the conference room. He led him into a small interview room. No windows, metal table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs, a camera in the corner. Rourke shut the door behind them. "You need to tell me everything," Rourke said. He sat. "I already did." "No," Rourke replied. "Not the way I need." Rourke leaned forward, elbows on the table. "That child," he said, "she's not just some rich woman's daughter. That name, Bennett, do you know who she is?" He shook his head. Rourke exhaled sharply. "She's the CEO of Bennett Holdings," he said. "Private security contracts, tech, logistics, defense-adjacent work. She's one of the richest people in the state." He felt his stomach sink. Not because of the money, because of what kind of money it was. Rourke continued. "She's also been on our radar for 2 years. For what?" he asked. Rourke's eyes narrowed. "Obstruction," he said. intimidation, private settlements, witnesses who suddenly forget what they saw. He stared at him. "You're saying she's dirty?" Rourke didn't answer directly. "I'm saying she's protected," he said, "and she protects herself the same way her company protects its clients." He remembered her words. "I will do whatever keeps her alive." Rourke slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed photos, still frames, security camera shots, the station lobby from last night. He leaned closer. One frame showed him walking in with Lila. Another showed Crow arriving. Another showed Evelyn stepping into the building. And then he froze. There was a frame of Lila standing alone for a moment, and behind her, in the lobby, a man in a maintenance uniform pushing a cart. His face was turned slightly toward the camera. Rourke tapped the image. "Do you recognize him?" he asked. He stared harder. The man's eyes, the angle of his jaw, something in him tightened. "He was on the road," he said slowly. Rourke nodded. "Yeah," he replied. "He was." He swallowed. "That's impossible." "It's not," Rourke said. "We tracked him. He wasn't station staff. He wasn't on any vendor list. He walked in, stayed 10 minutes, walked out. No one stopped him." His mouth went dry. "That's the guy who—" he started. "The guy who was watching you when you picked her up," Rourke finished. The room felt smaller. His pulse hammered in his throat. "I thought he was just someone passing," he said. "You didn't mention him in your statement," Rourke said. "I didn't realize." "I know," Rourke said. "That's why I called you back, because the anonymous tip we got this morning included a description. Same one. Maintenance uniform. Black cap. Scar near his left ear." He stared at the photo. Now that Rourke said it, he could see the scar. A pale line, thin, like something old. Rourke leaned back. "This wasn't an accident," he said. "That girl was placed where you'd find her." His skin went cold. "Why me?" Rourke's eyes didn't blink. "That's what I'm trying to understand," he said. He sat back slowly, hands flat on the table. He thought about Evelyn running his background check, about Crow's calm, about Lila's practiced obedience. He thought about the SUV in the parking lot, and the text telling him to walk inside alone. He pulled out his phone and showed Rourke the message. Rourke's expression hardened immediately. "Did you get any others?" he asked. "No." Rourke stood. He walked to the door and opened it slightly, speaking to someone outside in a low voice. When he came back, his tone was different, more controlled. "We're going to escort you and your son home," he said. He shook his head. "No," he said quietly. Rourke paused. "What?" He looked up at him. "I saw a black SUV in the grocery lot," he said, "and one outside." Rourke's jaw tightened. "You're being watched." "I know." Rourke studied him. Then he said, "You need to stay close to us." He thought of Aaron sitting outside in the truck. He stood up. "I'm getting my son," he said. Rourke nodded and followed. They walked out together. The lobby was busier now, people waiting, officers moving. But when he stepped outside, his eyes went straight to his truck. Aaron was still there. Still. Too still. He broke into a fast walk, then a run. The driver's side window was cracked. Not broken, not shattered, just cracked, like someone had tapped it with something hard once. A warning. Aaron's face was pale. His eyes locked onto his father. He rolled the window down just enough to speak. "Dad," Aaron whispered, voice shaking. Someone came to the truck. His chest tightened. "Who?" Aaron swallowed. "A woman," he said. "She smiled at me, like she knew me." He felt his stomach twist. "What did she say?" Aaron's voice came out thin. "She said, 'Tell your dad he has until tonight to make the right choice.'" Rourke's face hardened beside him. "Did she touch you?" Rourke asked. Aaron shook his head quickly. "No." Rourke looked at him. "She wasn't trying to hurt you," Rourke said. "She was trying to make sure you told him." He felt the words sink into his bones. Until tonight. He stared at the cracked glass, and for the first time since he'd stopped on that road, he felt something close to panic. Because now it wasn't just Lila. It was his son. They didn't go home. Rourke made that decision before he did. "You're not sleeping in that house tonight," the detective said flatly. Aaron didn't argue this time. He sat in the back of an unmarked police sedan, staring out the window while the city blurred past. His face had gone quiet in a way that reminded him too much of Lila. They were taken to a small motel near the edge of town. Nothing official. No police tape. Just a place that didn't ask questions if you paid cash. Rourke walked the perimeter first. Checked corners. Spoke quietly into his shoulder radio. Only then did he nod for them to go inside. The room smelled faintly of bleach and old carpet. 2 beds. 1 lamp flickering near the door. Aaron sat on the edge of the far bed and pulled his knees up slightly, like he used to when he was younger and pretending not to be scared. Rourke stood near the window, peeking through the curtains. "You need to tell me something," Rourke said without turning around. He sat slowly on the other bed. "What? Did she ask you for help?" The question landed heavier than it should have. He didn't answer right away. He replayed the night in his head. The window. Her small hand on his sleeve. She hadn't asked. But she had waited. "She didn't say it," he said quietly. "But yes." Rourke nodded once. "That's what I thought." Aaron looked up. "Help her how?" Aaron asked. Rourke glanced at him, then back to him. "That's the problem," Rourke said. Silence stretched between them. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Not the same as before. He stared at it until it almost stopped ringing. Then he answered. Evelyn's voice came through. Calm, measured. "You've been moved," she said. It wasn't a question. His jaw tightened. "You have people watching police vehicles now?" "I have people watching everything," she replied. Rourke stiffened slightly across the room. "You shouldn't have involved him," Evelyn continued. "He doesn't deserve this. He didn't deserve you leaving your daughter on a road either," he said. A pause. "I told you," she said quietly. "There are layers you don't see." "Then explain them." Silence again. He could almost hear her thinking. "Finally," she said, "the man who died in my house wasn't an employee." Rourke's eye sharpened. "Then who was he?" he asked. Evelyn didn't hesitate this time. "He was one of the men who built my company with me," she said. That shifted something. "A partner?" he asked. "Yes. And he tried to sell information that would have put several people in prison," she said, "including me." The room felt smaller. "You had him killed," he said. "No," she replied evenly. "He was killed by someone who believed he had already betrayed them." "That's convenient?" "You think I don't know how it sounds?" she asked. Her voice stayed calm, but there was something raw beneath it now. "Leela saw it happen," she continued. "She wasn't supposed to be in that wing of the house, but she was." Aaron swallowed audibly. "She remembers faces," Evelyn said softly. "She remembers voices. She remembers things adults don't want remembered." Rourke stepped closer, listening openly now. "You're saying someone wants to silence a 6-year-old, he said. "Yes." "And you thought staging a roadside drop would protect her?" "It was supposed to flush them out," Evelyn said. His stomach dropped. "You used her as bait." "I used myself as bait," she corrected. "The car was tracked. They expected her to stay inside. But you told her to get out." "Yes." "So they think she was still in the car." A pause. "Yes." He closed his eyes briefly. "And if I hadn't found her?" he asked. "You did," she said. That answer made something inside him harden. "You don't get to gamble with her life and call it strategy," he said. Evelyn's voice didn't rise. "I don't get to lose," she said. Silence. Rourke spoke carefully. "Ma'am, someone approached this man's son today." A slight shift on the line. "I know," she said. His head snapped up. "You what?" I told them not to, she replied. They don't always listen. The words hit like ice water. They, he repeated. The same people who killed my partner, she said. They are not mine. They are not under my control. His pulse pounded in his ears. You just admitted you know who they are. I know enough. Then why aren't they arrested? Rourke demanded. Evelyn's voice went flat. Because they are not just criminals, she said. They are investors, board members, political donors. They fund half the infrastructure you depend on. Silence swallowed the room. Aaron's breathing sounded too loud. They believe Lila heard something specific that night, Evelyn continued. A name, a code, I don't know which. And did she? He asked. I don't know, Evelyn said. She hasn't told me. That part felt real. You don't know, he repeated. No. Rourke rubbed his face. So what's the right choice your people are threatening him about? Rourke asked. Another pause. Then, quietly, hand her back to me. Publicly. Say she was confused. Say everything was a misunderstanding. Close the narrative. He felt something heavy settle in his chest. And if I don't? Evelyn didn't answer directly. They escalate, she said. Aaron's fingers dug into the motel blanket. Why call me? He asked her. A longer silence. Because Lila trusts you, Evelyn said. That landed harder than anything else. She shouldn't, he said. She does. He swallowed. What are you asking? Evelyn's voice lowered. I'm asking you to take her. The room went completely still. Rourke's head lifted sharply. What? He said. Evelyn continued, steady. They won't expect me to give her up willingly. They're watching my house, my movements, my accounts, but they won't expect me to let her disappear into something ordinary. His mind struggled to catch up. You want me to hide your daughter? Yes. Aaron stared at him. You can't be serious, Rourke said. I am, Evelyn replied. You realize that's kidnapping if it's not documented, Rourke said. I will sign whatever is necessary, she said. Temporary guardianship. Emergency relocation. And you trust him? Rourke asked. A pause. Yes. He felt the weight of that word settle on his shoulders. He looked at Aaron. Aaron's face was pale, but his eyes were steady. Dad, Aaron whispered. He thought about the cracked window. The woman smiling. The text message. Until tonight. He thought about Lila standing alone in rain, believing she was doing the right thing. His chest felt tight. What happens if they find us? He asked quietly. Evelyn didn't hesitate. They won't stop, she said. The honesty in it made his hands go cold. And you're willing to risk that, he pressed. For her? Evelyn said. Yes. Silence filled the room. He looked down at his hands. Calloused. Ordinary. Not built for this kind of war. But he had already stepped into it the moment he opened his truck door. He didn't know when it had stopped being about a lost girl. He just knew it had. He exhaled slowly. When? He asked. Evelyn's voice came soft. Tonight. He didn't answer her right away. The motel room felt smaller than before, the air heavy. The lamp by the door flickered once and steadied. Aaron was watching him like he used to when he was little, and waiting to see if the thunder meant danger or just noise. Rourke stood with his arms crossed now, not defensive, just thinking. You understand what you're asking, he said to Evelyn. If he takes her and something happens, there's no pulling that thread back. I understand, she replied. Her voice didn't shake. That bothered him more than if it had. He walked to the window and pulled the curtain aside just enough to see the parking lot. 2 police cars. 1 unmarked sedan. A vending machine glowing near the stairwell. Ordinary details. He tried to imagine Lila sleeping somewhere in a house surrounded by cameras and guards. He tried to imagine her standing by another window. You said they think she heard something, he said quietly. A name. Yes. And if she didn't, then they'll keep pressing until they're certain. The word pressing stayed with him. Aaron spoke softly from the bed. What if she did hear it? Silence. Evelyn answered carefully. Then the wrong people will do whatever it takes to find out what she remembers. He felt a slow, heavy anger settle into his chest. She's 6, he said. Yes, Evelyn replied. Not arguing, not defending, just acknowledging. Rourke looked at him. If we do this, the detective said, it can't look like a rescue. It has to look like compliance. He turned back from the window. What does that mean? It means tomorrow morning, Rourke continued. You make a statement. You say you were mistaken. You say everything was resolved. You say she went home safely. And tonight? He asked. Rourke's eyes met his. Tonight we move her. Aaron's breathing went shallow. How? Aaron asked. Evelyn answered. I can create a window, she said. 30 minutes, cameras redirected, staff rotated. You're still being watched, Rourke said. Yes. Then this is a trap, he replied. Evelyn didn't deny it. It might be, she said. He rubbed his face with both hands. He thought about the life he had built. Quiet, predictable, small enough to manage. He thought about Aaron's soccer games, homework at the kitchen table, burned pancakes on Sundays. He thought about the cracked truck window. He turned back toward the phone. If I say yes, he said slowly, you don't get to pull her back when this is inconvenient. Evelyn didn't hesitate. I won't, she said, and you don't use us again. A pause. I won't. He believed she meant that. He didn't know if it mattered. Rourke stepped closer. I can't officially sanction this, he said, but I can look the other way long enough for it to happen. That's not reassuring, Aaron muttered. Rourke almost smiled. It's the best you're getting. Silence stretched again. He felt something settle inside him. Not confidence, not courage, just decision. He picked up the phone again. Tell me where, he said. It happened fast. Too fast for second thoughts. Evelyn gave them coordinates. Not her house. A secondary property on the edge of the city. A place she said wasn't under direct watch yet. Rourke arranged for one patrol car to drive visibly toward Evelyn's primary residence. At the same time, lights off, but noticeable. Distraction. They left the motel in separate vehicles. Aaron rode with him. You don't have to do this, Aaron said quietly as they drove. Yes, he replied. Aaron looked out the window. I know, he said. The property was gated, but the gate stood half open when they arrived. Dark driveway, long stretch of trees. No visible guards. That scared him more than if there had been 10. Evelyn was waiting outside the house when they pulled up. No coat this time, just a dark sweater. Her hair pulled back. She looked smaller in the open air. Lila stood beside her. When Lila saw his truck, she didn't smile, but she moved. One step forward, then another. Evelyn knelt in front of her daughter. He couldn't hear what she said. He didn't try to. He watched Lila's face instead. It didn't break. It didn't crumble. It just held. Evelyn stood and walked toward him. Up close, her composure had cracks now. You understand, she said quietly. This may not end cleanly. He nodded. I know. She handed him a folder. Legal documents. Temporary guardianship forms. Already signed, her signature sharp and deliberate. You'll need to move often, she said. Keep routines unpredictable. I'll send resources quietly. No, he said immediately. She paused. What? No money. No staff. Nothing that ties back to you. That's not realistic. It is, if we want them to stop looking. She studied him, then nodded once. All right. Lila stepped closer. She was wearing a small backpack. The same yellow dress from the road was gone. Now she looked like any other kid ready for a sleepover. Except for her eyes. He crouched down to her level. Hi, he said softly. She nodded. Hi. He hesitated. Are you sure? She looked back at her mother briefly, then back at him. I don't want to stand by the window anymore, she said. That was all. His throat tightened. He nodded. Okay. Evelyn stepped back. No hug this time. No dramatic goodbye. Just a hand briefly touching Leela's hair. Then she straightened. "If anything happens," she said to him, "call the number." He thought about the card in his pocket. He nodded once. They didn't linger. Lingering would make it real. He opened the truck door. Aaron shifted to make space in the back seat. Leela climbed in quietly. He shut the door. For a second, he met Evelyn's eyes over the roof of the truck. There was no gratitude there. No apology. Just something like hope. And something like fear. He got in and started the engine. They drove away without headlights for the first 100 feet. Then he turned them on. In the rearview mirror, Evelyn stood alone in the driveway. Still. Watching. They didn't go home. They didn't go back to the motel. They drove toward a town 3 hours away where no one knew their names. Aaron didn't speak for the first half hour. Lila sat in the back seat, hands folded in her lap. Finally, Aaron turned slightly. "You can take my room," he said quietly. Lila looked at him. "Thank you." The words sounded less rehearsed this time. He drove through the night. The road stretched ahead, dark and uncertain. He didn't feel brave. He didn't feel heroic. He felt tired and aware. Every pair of headlights in the mirror made his chest tighten. Every time Lila shifted in her seat, he listened. Somewhere past midnight, she fell asleep. He knew because her head tipped gently against the window and stayed there. Aaron noticed too. "She's out," he whispered. He nodded. He kept driving. He didn't know how long this would last. Weeks, months, maybe longer. He didn't know if the man Evelyn feared would find them. He didn't know if Rourke would be able to keep looking the other way. He didn't know if he had just dragged his son into something that would mark him forever. But he knew one thing. When he saw her standing in that rain, he could have kept driving. He didn't, and that choice had already changed everything. Not because it made him important, not because it made him brave, but because now every decision he made would be measured against that moment. The moment he decided that waiting in the rain wasn't something a child should have to do alone.